Alright, imagine this. You wake up tomorrow, open your phone, and the headline is basically Trump is moving to take Greenland. And it isn't some TikTok noise. Reuters and Financial Times are already covering it. Not we're talking, not we made a deal, like take it. And I know what you're thinking, like, David, come on bro, that's not happening. I even checked Polymarket and right now it's not even close to 50-50. It's like 10-12% for an actual invasion in 2026. And yeah, that sounds low, but Europe is not treating it like a joke anymore. Denmark literally said Trump is pushing an unacceptable proposal, basically talking like conquest. And NATO countries, France, Germany, Sweden, Norway, their troops are heading to Greenland for joint exercises. So today we're gonna do a thing nobody wants to do. We're gonna run the simulation, and if this Greenland situation gets worse, what does it actually could do to markets? And even more important, does crypto get destroyed or does Bitcoin actually win from that chaos? Because those are two very different worlds. Alright, before we start panicking, I'm not saying this will 100% happen. I'm not saying Trump is definitely sending soldiers to a snowy island like it's Call of Duty or some stuff. But I'm saying this matters because it's kind of like a situation that can break markets fast. And markets don't break just only because of the event itself. They break because what it could trigger. NATO trust falling apart, European-US trade problems, sanctions, supply chain pain, and fear around the US dollar system. So let's talk like adults. What are the realistic paths from here? People hear Greenland and think snow, ice, penguins. First of all, wrong animal, it's Antarctica. Second, Greenland is not about vibes. It's not even rich. Greenland's economy is tiny, around 3-4 billion GDP, and only about 56,000 people live there. And Denmark basically helps keep it alive. Denmark sends Greenland about $550 million every year, which is like $9,000 per person. So why would the US care? Because Greenland is not about money, it's about power and position. It sits right between North America and Europe, and the Arctic is becoming a bigger deal every year. Also, the US already has a major base there, Pituffik Space Base, missile warning systems, space tracking, all that stuff. So when Trump says we need Greenland for national security because either Russia or China will take it, that part is not random. Where it gets weird is the method, because the US has already access to the territory through agreements. So the obvious question becomes, if you're already getting what you want, why would you talk it about taking it by force? There's where we move from strategy to politics. Here is the most important sentence in this whole video. Markets don't react to headlines, they react to probabilities. Right now the market is basically saying, okay, interesting story, but the chance is very low. That's why stocks or crypto aren't crashing every time Trump says something crazy. But if the chance moves from 10% to 20%, things change fast. And this is why I want to break this down in a very specific way. I'm not here to pretend like I know the future. I'm not here to give you some investment plan. On this channel, Walk Into Crypto, I'm doing what I always do. I look at the situation like on a map, because smart money doesn't bet on one story. Smart money asks, what are the possible outcomes and what does the market do in each one? So let's go through all 4 scenarios, and in each one I will tell you what will happen to the dollar, the stocks, and Bitcoin. Scenario 1, this is just pressure, negotiations. This is probably the most likely one. Trump doesn't really want a real invasion. He wants leverage. He wants Europe to panic, he wants Denmark to give something up, he wants more access, more control, and more rights. And later he goes on TV and like, look, we got Greenland, nobody else could do it, historic win. Honestly, that fits Trump's perfectly. Market reaction, maybe some volatility, but not the end of the world. Maybe defense companies pump, oil moves up, and Bitcoin might even go up on fear. This is basically the political show scenario, but it's very different from Venezuela one. And people usually forget this, but it's very important. Even those kind of shows can trigger big market moves. Next, scenario 2, sanctions plus financial war. Now this one could actually hit your portfolio. What if Europe decides, okay, you want to play empire? Cool, but we don't shoot first, we will sanction first. Because in 2026, that's the real weapon, not tanks, Money. This scenario looks like trade limits, freezing assets, blocking some tech experts, and supply chain pain. And here's when it gets nasty, because the European and the US economies are tight like crazy, basically like headphones in your pocket. For example, Europe has companies like ASML, chip machines, Airbus, pharma like Novo Nordisk. The US has key parts, patents, software suppliers. So if they start blocking each other, both sides bleed. And stock market impact, that's where your portfolio gets real ugly drawdowns. Not because Apple becomes a bad company overnight, but because the global trust cracks. Crypto impact, Bitcoin probably drops with everything else because of the panic selling, but later Bitcoin can start looking like an escape asset. If countries start freezing money, telling banks what they can do, blocking payments, then an asset outside of the system becomes more interesting because it doesn't need permission. Scenario 3, accident or NATO crisis. This one is low chance, but it's the scary one. And it's not gonna be like Trump wakes up and tells everybody, okay boys, time for World War III. No, this is how real disasters happen. More troops show up, more ships, more drills, everybody is trying to look strong. And then one day, something dumb happens. Like actually dumb. A radar reads something wrong, a warning shot, a ship gets too close, a plane does something stupid. And suddenly, it's not even politics anymore. It's the NATO crisis. And markets are not built for allies fighting allies. That's not a dip, that's panic. In that moment, stocks drop hard, oil spikes fast, gold goes crazy, bond market starts moving in scary ways. Crypto gets smashed at first because in real panics, people are selling everything they can. But then Bitcoin can bounce back even faster than people expect. Not because Bitcoin is a safe asset, it becomes the I don't trust everyone asset. Scenario 4, quiet deal or a soft takeover. Now, here the scenario most people I think underestimate. No war, no invasion, just small control. The US builds more bases, it invests more in Greenland, it gets more mining rights, and it starts building real infrastructure there. And Greenland slowly moves into the US sphere over time. Maybe this is the most boring scenario politically, but the financially it's more bullish one because uncertainty disappears. Now, if you want to track this situation, whether it's noise or maybe real, you can check poly market of course, but here is also what I'm watching. First, bond market. If US treasuries start dropping hard, that's real warning. Second, European Union language. If Europe officials start saying sanctions, retaliations, asset freezes, it's no longer X drama. Dollar plus gold. If the dollar drops while gold rises, that's fear leaving the system. And the last one is BTC dominance. If Bitcoin dominance up, that means that there is fear in the market. And if BTC dominance down, that's casino market. So yeah, Trump takes Greenland sounds like a meme, but depending on what path it will take, it will be either a volatile event, a trade war, or worst case, a global panic event. And here's what I want to know. In the comments, tell me which scenario you think is more realistic. All negotiations plus pressure, European sanctions or financial war, NATO accident, escalation, or quiet soft takeover deal. And most importantly, if it does get worse, what will break first? Stocks, dollar, crypto, or maybe Bitcoin will be the winner of this event accidentally. Drop your country too, because the European viewers and the US viewers are seeing this completely differently. This is David, Walk Into Crypto. Check out my other videos that are already on my channel where I'm sharing my thoughts, my investment plan, my path in crypto, and see you next time.